Ah, PC gaming. In one way or another, it's provided countless hours, days, weeks, even years of entertainment to generations of enthusiasts around the globe. Or disc, as it were. These last 10 years have been something of a roller coaster ride for enthusiasts and novices alike. And today, we begin our story, one of sloth and greed, of loss and rebirth, and a never-ending thirst for more. So make yourself comfortable as we take you back in time and celebrate PC gaming in the only way we know how.
I'm building a bunch of gaming PCs, this is gonna be fun. You ready?
It's very rude.
Oh, and it's brought to you by, actually it's powered by Seasonic, and brought to you by LG's Ultra Gear ultra-wide gaming displays. Yeah, you need a screwdriver too, right?
I don't.
The first chapter of our story begins way back in the long, long ago time known as 2009. The 44th President of the United States of America was inaugurated, the Twilight series made its debut, and James Cameron's Avatar became the highest grossing film of all time. Depending on your take on those events, it was either a great year or one that you'd rather forget. But fear not, 2009 was a pretty good year for PC gaming. We got Borderlands, Batman Arkham Asylum, Left 4 Dead 2, and Dragon Age Origins, just to name a few. To run those games, Intel had just launched the Core i series as a replacement for the Core 2s that had gone toe-to-toe with AMD in the years prior. As a result, while the Linfield Core i7 handily outperformed its Core 2 quad predecessors, the price for those older chips fell steadily as the new platform found its legs, and they remained a highly popular choice for builders, especially with early DDR3 costing a pretty penny and not significantly outperforming the outgoing DDR2. So our build then is equipped with everything we need to make a great 2009 gaming machine. A Core 2 Quad Q9650 with that gorgeous Zellman flower cooler on it, 4 gigs of DDR2 800, dual Radeon HD 5970s in Crossfire, and of course, Windows 7, all for just under $1,800 US at the time. So I was actually pretty into both of these games. I guess I'll go with Dragon Age? Sure. It's probably the more graphically demanding of the two. Anthony, have you actually tried these games?
I loaded them up to make sure they launch and that they're in the right resolution, but aside from that, nope. You're gonna have to create a character and everything.
I actually probably don't have to do that. I could remote into my computer at home and load up my save. I think I still have it. All right, so theoretically, I've thrown my old save file for Lyra in here, but I don't know if it's actually gonna work. There's a previous folder that has like a portrait and stuff in it. Man, I remember this. All right, let's see if it's in there. Caverns, woo! Actually, that ain't bad. I think I was kind of an evil character, which is why my face ends up looking kind of like scary and stuff. Arcane Bolt, blah, blah, blah. Haven't played this in a while. Winter's Grasp, slow down, you hoser. Finding the controls a little kludgy in this after so long. All right, I obviously don't know any of my my binds here. Oh, it's immune to fire. That makes sense. How about some lightning for you there? You know, it's funny, new games they definitely look better, but this looks all right, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, most of the graphical fidelity is made up in the lighting, I think. Because the textures don't really hold up very well today.
No, they've aged, for sure. That was definitely a trip down nostalgia lane, but one thing I won't miss is how loud gaming machines were back then, and how bad the cable management options were. This case sucked.
The following year saw BioShock 2 hit Steam libraries, along with Battlefield Bad Company 2, Civ 5, Mass Effect 2, and StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. Carrying on this pattern of sequels, AMD's new Phenom 2 X6 offered more threads than the Core 2s did at a price much lower than the Core i series. particularly when it comes to the supporting hardware. This made it a favorite among enthusiasts looking for something better than a Core 2 quad and a multi-threading workload without breaking the bank, because while it was slower per thread, it held its own in most titles. Wider availability of DDR3 made for a lower early adopter tax, although DDR2 would remain much less expensive for some time to come. Our 2010 gaming PC, therefore, is equipped with a Phenom 2 X6 1055T, 4GB of DDR3 1333, and twin Radeon HD 6970s. Still rocking Windows 7, we're again just shy of $1,800 in 2010.
Well, remember when you could right-click on network crap in the bottom right, and then you would, well, okay, when it wasn't broken like that?
Yeah.
And then you could just go
that.
to your network configurations. It did do that.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we trying to run at here?
Again, 3440 by 1440.
Oof.
So full ultra-wide. As you can see, it doesn't exactly scale the intro graphics very well,
No.
but
Once again, the textures are a little rough, and mocap technology definitely had a long way to go back then compared to now. You can definitely tell when things like God rays are hard-coded versus dynamically generated by the engine and by the light sources.
yeah. In this case, if we removed all the geometry in the scene, those God rays would still be there.
He looks like he just smelled something bad. So this game apparently scales to ultra-wide by narrowing your vertical field of view. That's not a great gaming experience. Ultra-wide support has definitely gotten a lot better over the years. So our number 10 bulb is actually cut off, and so is our point decrease button here.
Well, I'm not sure how to proceed from here, to be honest.
Wah, wah. 2011 brought us a huge number of hot titles, like Portal 2, Skyrim, Oh, that's a pretty dead meme, sorry. Skyrim, Deus Ex Human Revolution, and everyone's favorite masochism simulator, Dark Souls. But 2011 was also a dark year for AMD. With the release of Sandy Bridge and Intel's new consumer LGA 1156 platform, Intel not only had a very fast lineup of CPUs at their disposal, but a cost-effective one at that. AMD's response in the form of Bulldozer failed on all counts, giving them a reputation as the cheap option that would take years to overcome. Now, because in the early days, hyperthreading had a tendency to negatively impact gaming performance, there was very little reason to go with the high-end Core i7 2600K. So as a result, our build rocks a Core i5 2500K with 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, whose price had come down a fair bit since 2010. Now this time around, we've gone green team for our graphics card because Nvidia's GTX 590 outperformed AMD, making it the go-to card for over-the-top monster machines. But it was also around this time that enthusiasts began to shy away from dual GPU solutions due to the prevalence of micro-stuttering. The GTX 590 would be among the last such consumer cards from Nvidia. This year, we picked up an SSD for the first time, bumping our total build price to nearly $1,900. And that SSD option is something we'll be keeping in all future builds. Unlike Windows 7, for which, sadly, the road ends here. One thing that was a big deal that we didn't cover in the blurb for this year is that the Define was pretty much the defining case of this time. Unlike the P180 series from Antec that preceded it, it was actually affordable, so you could get a nice looking, quiet, discreet case without breaking the bank. Now, I never actually played Skyrim.
Really?
I was big into Oblivion, but I never played this one.
This is the one that everybody played.
I know, right? I gotta say, the texture quality, even just in the loading screens, feels more than a year ahead of what we were just looking at. That's a huge difference. And this is even without the modding community coming in and fixing it for us.
Yeah. I remember the 8K texture packs that were available for this. Wasn't actually 8K, but you know.
Should we just jump to one of the towns?
Sure.
You watch out. Boom! Yeah, you like that? Boom! Right fist, left fist. Oh, he's got a sword. Boom! 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 Oh, where'd his sword go? Now he's just got a knife, or maybe he only had a knife in the first place. Pop! 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 Pow! Oh, I have an axe. How do I equip it? Let's go axe some shiz. Lightning axe! Oh wow, this is how weighting works in this game?
Yeah.
That is so ugly and unnecessary. Wow, this is really a much, much better looking game though. it still doesn't hold up that well compared to modern stuff. Like, you can really tell a lot of the assets in the trees are obviously reused. Shadows are very lifeless feeling.
Mm-hmm. It's a shadow map.
The trees don't move, you know?
Yeah.
No breeze. But one of the things that was really great about this game was draw distance. Like, you could really look out into the distance and feel like you were in an immense world.
While the world didn't end in 2012, it wasn't an outstanding year for gaming as a whole either. Standouts include Far Cry 3, XCOM Enemy Unknown, Borderlands 2, and CSGO. The CPU world, meanwhile, arguably came to a halt. Ivy Bridge was a modest tick to Sandy Bridge's talk, representing a die shrink and not much else. PCI Express 3.0 became a thing, and they updated the integrated graphics and improved QuickSync support, but neither of those things were earth-shattering at the time. Still, as gamers moved on to the new architecture, the lessons of the previous generation carried forward to this one too. So many went with the Core i5 this time around, and so did we. The 3570K powers our rig this year, along with 8 GB of very inexpensive RAM, and the Radeon HD 7970, which, despite its slightly lower performance out of the gate, mostly kept pace with Nvidia's Kepler and eventually outperformed it in the long haul thanks to its larger frame buffer. At least this build costs less than last year's at just over $1,800, but we're now also running Windows 8, so have fun with that.
I never actually played Far Cry 3.
Neither did I.
Well, I played the first one and loved it. Played the second one and literally had my save game tanked because it had autosave, and then it autosaved when I was too far from anywhere to recover from some poison or something.
Oh, the malaria, yeah.
So I couldn't do anything, so my save game got complete. It was a crappy game anyway, so I didn't bother with this one even though it was supposed to be good.
Yeah, they skewed a little bit less towards the realism aspect of this one.
You know, as far as I know, I was the first North American retailer to bring in the Define R2.
Really?
Yeah. We brought in almost a container of them at a time when they were basically a completely unknown brand. It was like a huge gamble for me as a product manager. They had their issues. I remember there was a big scandal where their front USB was like wired up wrong or something.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to send us a bunch of like replacement USB harnesses, and I was like, what am I gonna do with these? Like, you expect me to have someone go in the back and replace all your stupid front panel cabling?
Literally open every case. Yeah. I guess they expected them to like be shipped with the cases or something.
That was ultimately the solution, making the customer deal with it, but it was not a good time. People were not happy. Facial animations have come a long way in even just a few short years. Now, they've come a long way further since then.
Like, these releases here with specular highlights are much better than previous gen.
Like, we're getting to the point now where I'm not gonna play this game and go, oh, this looks old.
Yeah, see the highlights on those packages?
Yeah, and you can see them in people's eyes too.
Yeah, the eyes especially.
It gives them a lot more life. Vegetation still looks pretty static.
View distance on this is pretty good as well, but I can tell that like it kind of cuts off around there.
Part of it too is that they've also applied a depth of field effect. That was something that didn't come into play until around this time.
Yeah.
2013 brought comparatively few, but major releases like Battlefield 4, Dota 2, and Saints Row 4. AMD wasn't having much fun though, and their desperate attempts to compete by both lowering their prices and increasing their clock speeds, and therefore power consumption, never quite managed to break them free of the rut they found themselves in. Haswell then was the next talk, and this time around we actually did get a bit of a performance boost, even if it was a single-digit one, thanks to a move to Intel's 22nm FinFET manufacturing process. Hyperthreading also became more useful this year as the concept of streaming your gaming began to take off in earnest, and the Core i7 4770K was also clocked higher than the Core i5 variant. So that's what we went with, along with 16 gigs of fast DDR3 RAM and a GeForce GTX 780 Ti. Kepler's second outing certainly did a lot better than the first, and unfortunately for AMD, Radeon still to this day hasn't made a return to the top of the benchmark charts. This year, Windows 8.1 made its debut, but I don't know that anyone actually cared outside of the fact that it was a free upgrade for Windows 8 users, which I guess might have helped a little with the ballooning prices of enthusiast PC hardware. This build, all told, commanded a total of just over $2,100 US. Now this is where we get into the games that really make me say, is this even that old? Like, I could play this game today and it would be perfectly fine. This is Battlefield 4. Textures look freaking awesome, high res. Lighting reflections are handled differently depending on the type of surface that the light is hitting. Can actually see objects that move into the God rays, get illuminated by them, like my gun. A lot of the improvements here aren't even just in technology, they're also in style. Like, you can really just tell how much more attention to detail is put into mocap.
Yeah.
Character models too. These are so detailed compared to the ones that we were looking at the beginning. Oh, that bloom.
Yeah.
Bloom and lens flare, love it.
Like a really complex lens flare too. The final year represented in this first part of our series is 2014, which was another relatively light year for high-profile releases, with Dark Souls 2, Alien Isolation, Shadow of Mordor, and The Sims 4 representing. As for hardware, man, it's Ivy Bridge all over again, but worse. TikTok and Moore's Law largely fell apart this year, and instead of a new microarchitecture or anything of substance, we got Haswell Refresh. Literally just a core clock improvement and, admittedly much needed, more efficient TIM. We did get a new chipset to go with it though, which for the first time implements NVMe support. Not that anyone had any use for that at the time, but hey, a feature's a feature. So, we went with a Core i7 4790K along with 16 gigabytes of DDR3, just like last time, but now we're dropping our hard drive in favor of a faster, large SSD. The other main difference is in Nvidia's Maxwell-based GTX 980. A complete rework of Kepler that improved efficiency and overall performance despite running on the same process node. That was a pretty impressive feat, and AMD wouldn't release their response until the following year. Mercifully, total cost is down significantly this year, and this will also be the last year that we build with Windows 8.1. With that said, I'm sure that there are still some fans of it out there. Somewhere. So this is Alien Isolation, and yeah, one of the things that you'll notice,
it's got chromatic like that VHS,
aberration. That's kind of the aesthetic of this, but it was also something that kind of became popular in around this time.
Right, real-time Instagram filters.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's like fine when we're looking right at it, but if we move the camera,
yeah, you get that red fringing on it.
Yeah, I think it'll go green over here.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Lighting effects are so natural, and it's amazing how much of a difference that makes. I mean, the graphics card manufacturers are constantly talking about how lighting is such a key component to making a game look more natural and more immersive. But as we've gone through this 6 years of gaming PCs, it's like, yeah, certain things have improved like textures, but lighting is definitely the one that has been the most game-changing, pardon the pun.
Yeah, and like this water effect here, the way the light plays off of that, that's something that just didn't happen in previous generations.
So much subtlety to it. Like just areas on the carpet that are more lit, like we've got actual light bounces.
Yeah. So as we come out here, we can see that, you know, the carpet, well, it's not really carpet, but like, it's way less shiny than this, this trim is.
Yeah, it used to be that, like going back to really old games like Doom 3, just like the entire environment felt shiny if they wanted to have light reflecting off anything. Like it lacked subtlety.
Yeah, and in this case, you can kind of see here, like the way they did with the bump mapping here.
Yeah.
It looks shiny, but also gritty at once, which is a really difficult thing to pull off on previous generations.
I remember it being a big deal to even be able to reflect the environment in a scope before this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it used to be like, I think it was Red Orchestra. You could have something that was either like a static scope, or you could have a low resolution or a high resolution reflection.
Yeah, and there was a significant performance penalty for enabling it. It was a discrete menu option.
Man, the steam effects here look great.
Yep.
The fact that like when you go by them and the light is no longer, I mean, that's kind of a screen space thing, but it kind of also works because it no longer is in your field of vision. So it kind of just fades out.
So this first half of the last decade represented a steady decline in hardware improvements and innovation year over year, but somehow on the software side of the gaming industry, they still managed to squeeze far more realism and image quality out of said hardware. Now, some believed that this decrease in performance improvement would continue ad infinitum as a result of the death of Moore's law, and the future indeed looked pretty dim in 2014. It seemed as though PC gaming would begin to drop off along with the decline in PC shipments in general. But stay tuned, folks, because for part 2, where we go from 2015 all the way up to today, well, let's just say if you're new and you don't already know how this ends, I think you're going to be surprised at where things go from here. What won't be a surprise is this segue to our sponsors for today's video, LG and Seasonic, who provided these monitors and of course literally powered all of our systems here. So if you guys are looking for a great gaming experience, LG's Ultra Gear gaming monitors are a fantastic choice. We're going to have those linked in the video description. And also down there is going to be some Seasonic power supplies, no matter what kind of a rig you're building. Small form factor, large, power sipping, power chugging, doesn't matter. Seasonic's got you covered. So thanks for watching, guys. If this video sucked, you know what to do, but if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or check out the link to where to buy the stuff we featured in the video description. Also linked down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and that hoodie, and our community forum, which you guys should totally join.